All right. Let's continue this premiere train. We had Will's Treasure starting out. We just left the Silver Bull 30. What's up, bully? Now you're here with me, Frostbite. After we're done here, we're going to continue this premiere train. We're going to head on through Mad Stackers, the man with the plan. From there, we're going to slide on over to GSF, hang out with the Gold Sniping Farmer, visit a little bit of Pistol Packing Pilot. From there, we're going to jaunt on over and say, how do you do to our brother Ringmaster Ray? And then what would it be without wrapping up the premiere train with the one, the only, the fabulous? It's going crazy. This is a coin. And I know you think I know that. But stay tuned, because the information that I'm going to provide you could potentially save you hundreds or thousands of dollars. My name is Frostbite. And anybody who's ever watched or listened to one of my streams knows that my goal is to provide you the best possible information. Now, from time to time, I make mistakes. I did that in a short the other day where I said AU58, and then I said MS68, and then I said AU68, and then realized, wait, that's a problem, right? Somebody pointed it out to me, and I had to correct it. And these things happen all the time. And it's okay to make mistakes. We need to learn from them. But there's one fundamental mistake I do not want you all to make, and that is making a purchase on a coin that is utterly valueless. So stay tuned, because I'm going to give you some situations in where that can happen and a little bit of information to prevent you from making that mistake. Now, this is a coin, or in the immortal words of one of my favorite coaches in American football, this is a football. Now, this is an American football. We're not talking about this football here, or the one up there, or the one over here, or even potentially the one where they kick over the volleyball. It's a football, but it's volleyball played with your feet. I promise you this video is going to be less confusing than the American concept of football. So the coach that I'm talking about is the famed coach Vince Lombardi. Now, Vince Lombardi always started his season off by looking at his team as though they had the same level of information. It didn't matter how long they were in the league, and it didn't matter how long they had played the sport. He always started off with the same adage every year. The bare bones of fundamentals. This is a football. Because once you understand the basic premise of what you're looking at, you begin to understand how the game is played. You begin to understand concepts that you may not have thought about before. And this is something that I'm going to try and do for you. This is a dime. In fact, this is a dime from Philadelphia. And you can see that by the fact that there's a missing mint mark right here. Now, I want you to listen to that term, missing mint mark. Missing mint mark is often used on certain selling sites to misinform people of a value of a coin that's not really valuable. So I'm going to give you some information to arm yourself against that. Again, I know many of you are going to think that this is very trivial, but it's important that people understand the same information. So please stay tuned. I promise you the information that I'm about to provide you will be very valuable. Okay, so let's start off with mint marks. Okay, we talked about the missing mint mark. That's here. So as many of you know, mint marks came from 4 different mints. Now, there were more than 4, but we're going to talk about the 4 that we know today. And that's going to be the Philadelphia with a P, Denver with a D, San Francisco with the S, and West Point with a W. Now, mint marks weren't always on the coin. In fact, for the first 40 years of coins, there was no mint mark on the coin at all. And it wasn't until 1835, March 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, that they passed a congressional act indicating the presence of a mint mark. Now, the reason for that? More mints. Obviously, there were more mints, so now they had to discern them. So there wouldn't be a mint mark on the Philadelphia dime. And even after the act, they wouldn't put one there until 1980. Now, I want you to remember that date. That date is very important. Unlike any other ones, this particular one will save you a heartache when you're trying to purchase online. Remember, when I go through this information right now, we are only talking about Philadelphia. I'll get to the other mints in just a moment. Now, the P mark has been on the Philadelphia mint ever since 1980. But how many eBay listings or other selling listings have you seen no mint mark dime worth $1,000? Be careful for this. There's only one you really need to be concerned with, and that is the 1982 no P mint mark. Now, this is the only business strike in which the mint screwed up and left the mint mark off. Now, there are 1982 P dimes. So not all the dimes have no mint mark because the original design was to have the P mint mark on the dime. But on a few select coins, we're talking a couple 100,000 coins only, most of them were found in Ohio, there were no Ps. Now, don't get confused with dates that are pre-80 because there were no P mint marks on the coins. But in 82, it was part of the design. So it's very important that you want to do that. If you want to watch more information on the 1982 no P mint mark, look in the comments down below. I'll post the link in the description. At the very end, I'll put the comment up in the corner. Let's go ahead and move to Denver. Now remember, I'm going to be going through each mint mark, or each mint, so I want to make sure that we talk about those very carefully. Again, when we're looking at Philadelphia, when we're talking about a mint mark not being there, this is the bottom of the coin. Now, another thing that's important to remember is that until 1968, mint marks were always on the reverse of the coin. In 1968, they changed and they became part of the obverse. Now, as you can see here, 1965 doesn't have a mint mark, but 2023 does. So when you're looking at the Denver mint mark, there are 3 years in which business strikes did not have a mint. That's 1965, 1966, and 1967. So again, when you're talking about no mint coins, anything from 65, 66, 67, doesn't matter where it came from, there's not going to be a mint mark. Okay, so these are business strikes. So it's one important thing to remember. You're not going to find a valuable no mint mark 1966 dime because none of them had them. Okay, it's very important to understand that. Now, when we go to the San Francisco Mint is something a little bit different. Now, the San Francisco Mint, again, when we're looking at the original ones, we're going to see that the mint mark was up here on the reverse. Now, this is a Mercury dime, so this is 1942. But when we're looking here at 1975, oops, you can't see my finger there, 1975 right over here, you'll see that there's an S mint mark. Now, when we're talking about San Francisco put the S mint mark from 1854 to 1955. Now, in 1955, the San Francisco Mint would suspend business strike coins. They wouldn't do business strikes anymore. And they didn't do this for about 13 years. But from 1955 to 1965, they would only focus pretty much on proof coins. Now, it's really important to know the dates on that because we're talking 65, 66, 67, there were no mint marks, okay? So that's, again, remember those 3 years. It's really important to do that. But in 1968, they started putting the S mint mark on. However, just like in the one that I was talking about in 1975, they left the mint mark off. Okay, or excuse me, in 1982, they left the mint mark off. Now, the difference here is that this is a proof coin. Don't get this confused with the business strike because the business strike is only Philadelphia and Denver. Okay, the S mint is a proof coin. So it's important to understand the difference here. So when we're looking at the 1975, or we're looking at the 1968, I'm going to go ahead and flip the switch here. So again, you see the 1968, you see the 1975, neither one have a mint mark. Now, I showed this picture here of the 1975 on purpose. And it's really important that you see this because if you look at the top one, it's pristine, it's clean, it's beautiful. You see that really bright reflective surface. It's no doubt that it's a proof coin. But this coin right here, it looks a little bit more dingy. It looks a little bit more worn. So you have to make sure you're looking at the right coin. Now, you do that by looking at different items. There are different there are different die marks and things like that. We'll talk about that at another time. I don't really want to get into that, but there are some things that you need to look for. So when you have a 1975 no mint mark, you need to reach out to one of us and let us know, and we'll do what we can to help you. Now, the last coin that I'm going to be talking about is the West Point Mint, my favorite mint, but this particular one only came in 1996. Now, this was a special run. This came in the mint set, and you can see the entire mint set here. But a mistake a lot of people make if they buy the 1996 is they don't look, and if you go right over here, you'll see that W dime down there in the bottom corner. It's part of the mint set. So if you buy a 1996 mint set, it doesn't come with a W dime. Make sure you're talking with that coin shop. Make sure you're talking with the person at the coin show. Wherever you get that from, make sure that 1996 W mint is there, because this coin can fetch a pretty good sum of money. Now, it's not crazy. We're not talking about thousands of dollars, but we are talking in MS67 to MS68, a $50 to $150 coin. And auction record, I think, in this coin was set for about $250 a couple years back. Right now, an MS69 tops out, I think, a PCGS about $411, but there hasn't been one sold in auction outside of eBay for that amount of money. So real quick, let's go ahead and kind of recap and talk about what we've done. So we've looked about the dimes. Okay, so we've got Philadelphia. The one you really want to look for is the Philadelphia 1982. Again, if you see these listings on these selling sites and they talk about this famous no D worth thousands, but it's not 1982 and it's pre-1980, it's just a regular Philadelphia dime. It's important for y'all to remember that, so take note of that. San Francisco mints, again, when you're talking about Denver, I didn't include Denver here because 65, 66, 67, there's no mint marks for any of the coins, so it's not a big deal. But at San Francisco, the coins you want to look for are 68 and 75. It's very important you remember those. And again, the one I just talked about is the 1996 W dime that came in those mint sets. So ladies and gentlemen, again, it's important to know the coins, but it's important to know the basics. So do me a favor. Let me know what coin you'd like me to do next. Do you want me to talk about cents, nickels, quarters, halves, dollars? Let me know in chat, and I will work on that video, and I'll bring this out for next Saturday. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this. This is Frostbite. Have a wonderful day.